Some brands offer you low finance, or cashback, or servicing.
Renault don't do ors. We do ands. The Renault Kadjar with 1.91% APR and €1,000 cashback and 3 years servicing, saving you thousands. Renault, the brand with the ands. Visit your local Renault dealer. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
I'd like an answer to the question, Judge.
You can't handle the truth!
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Welcome to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code, with your hosts, Joel Sturgis, Eric Olsen, and Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Good evening, and welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, the Criminal Code and whatnots. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen, and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Before we went on air, I was joking around saying, whatnots is not a used enough word anymore.
It isn't. It's like
isn't.
It is kind of faded.
It has.
I love saying whatnot.
I know, right? It covers everything, right? So, So anyhow, tonight we are going to be covering the strange case of Waterfield and Gore, punishment served or justice denied. Top of next hour, and of course that will be, join us over there at thecriminalcode.com if you're able to do so, to follow along with the story. It's kind of a twisted little tale about a team of killers that happen to be related, and definitely strange, really disturbing. So that's in your ball field right there. You're going to want to stick around. And who doesn't like twisted and disturbing? Let's just be honest. All right? It's twisted and disturbing. You get both in one story. Top of next hour. How have you guys been doing? Pretty good? You guys hanging in there? How's the sharp teeth of winter treating you?
I've been cold for a week. Today's kind of the first day I haven't felt cold. We just had no period of transition. We went from warm to cold, and it's just stayed cold. And I am not used to it. My body apparently, especially probably as I age, I need that transitional period. I can't go from 80 to 30. I need a little break in between 70s, 60s, 50s,
sure.
40s.
I hear you there. How about you, Dr. Cole?
It's actually kind of the same out here, where it was, I remember wearing like T-shirts outside. It was balmy. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, we need wood for the fireplace. I mean, it just bang.
Wow.
It's been consistently cold here too.
And so the fire though next to you, the campfire that has been contained completely now?
Yes, that is,
good,
I think, on its way to being put out completely. So, yes, that is done.
Good. Now, any word now, it's been quite a while now, what caused it?
The best guess is PG&E, the utility company. So, that's what everybody's saying. I don't know if the official investigation has come out yet or not, but it's such a known thing that, everybody's saying it's the power line upkeep.
Oh, so they're going to be paying some major damages, is what you're saying.
I really hope so. I mean, I'm not. I should probably be. They're going to charge me like $900 for my heating bill this month.
Yeah, just to recoup. Yeah,
just be like, no, stop bad mouthing us. But I have never liked PG&E and how they treat their customers, because it's a big monopoly kind of.
Yeah.
Do you guys have that there?
Oh, yeah. We got them.
Utilities are still basically a monopoly anywhere.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that and the cable company. Mm-hmm. That's another monopoly you have in every area, is the cable company.
Like, there's just no choice.
No choice. You have to go with them or you don't have it at all.
I mean, at least for cable, you do have the option. You have various cord cutting options these days. That's a very recent development. And of course, you still have satellite. You got your direct TVs. So, I mean, at least there's other manners of delivery, but it's not like you can go out and get electricity from some other place.
Not unless you have a squirrel and a wheel and a way to capture it. The electricity.
Very industrious.
Yes.
A very determined squirrel.
It would have to be like the Arnold
Massive
Schwarzenegger of squirrels to get that kind of electricity
Big
to
ass
power your radio.
It is so true. I know. I'm amazed that there are just no other options, and that monopoly is, government is fine with it. Apparently.
Well, they like it. They like the monopoly. They encourage monopolies.
That's why the rates are regulated, because it is a monopoly. But they still get around and charge whatever the hell they want.
Oh, yeah,
they make a bunch of
surcharges.
crap up,
Exactly, surcharges, service fees, you name it. Look at your cable bill once. It's full of fees.
I know, and they tell you, like, it's going to be $49.99 a month, and then you get the bill, and you're like, why is it $79.99?
Yeah, why is it $420?
Yeah, what happened here?
Why am I paying a line fee?
Oh my God, my cell phone is the same way. That I got an AT&T cell phone. I was with Verizon for a long time. It's still better, don't get me wrong. But I get the bill and I'm like, I don't even understand what's happening. What is this? What are these charges?
They get you coming, they get you going. I did cut the cord over a year ago now. I would say somewhere in that neighborhood, about a year ago. Went to Sling TV. Love it.
Yeah, we have Roku.
Yep.
We have Roku. I would not want to go back.
Nope. No way they're going to get me to go back. But anyhow, I suppose we should talk about why people are here. We got True Crime on tap. You got True Crime Headlines brought to you by thecriminalcode.com. Thecriminalcode.com is, of course, your one-stop shop for all things true crime. The proprietor of that awesome website is our very own Dr. Clarissa Cole. Again, that's thecriminalcode.com. Check it out. And once you're done with that, if you haven't already been there, shame, double shame. You need to stop by America's-Most-Haunted.com. That's also your one-stop shop for all things true crime, because Eric himself helps with collaboration with Dr. Cole to write some really cool articles that go right along with the show. And of course, like every Thursday, we have Paranormal Thursday, and there you can find an original article written each and every week by Eric Olsen. So check both those websites out and enjoy them and listen and have fun.
Speaking of that person, before Clarissa gets going, I have a first. This is a first
dun, dun, dun.
In the history of radio, internet radio. This is a first. The batteries died in my mouse, so I must go get batteries while you guys chat.
Okay,
I'll be right back.
The history,
I can't do anything.
First time in history. Never happened. Never happened before. Ever.
I'm hogtied.
Oh, you are. Oh, that sounds horrible. Don't get hogtied.
Back. I need a pair of double A's.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
I will be absent for a moment.
Double A's don't sound all that enthusiastic, but hey, all right, here we are. These are just low batteries after all. Okay. Dr. Cole, without him here, would you like to start headlines? Because he'll be right back after all. And if so, where would you like to start?
Sure. I want to start with a story that's a bit confounding to me because I don't really understand what's going on. There's a woman that is suing the Hilton hotel chain.
Sure.
And that's everywhere. Obviously, the worldwide, right? And she's suing for $100 million.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I mean, these like I
Cha-ching.
can't get a lawyer to pick up a case after a dentist totally botched something because it's crazy. $100 million lawsuit claiming that a hotel employee secretly recorded her while she was naked in the shower.
Oh, no. Right? That's bad.
Oh, I know.
That's
bad. It sounds really, really horrible. And then apparently this employee tried to blackmail her, but I'm confused. So help me out. Like,
okay.
When you blackmail someone, like if you were going to blackmail someone with this, what would you do? Like, how would that happen?
I would be, if I were nefarious in that way, I would say I have a recording of you in the shower.
Yep.
You either pay me X amount of money or I'm going to release it internet wide.
Okay, good. See, that to me sounds like a really good blackmail plan because that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like if I was going to blackmail somebody, like maybe you'd send them a little snippet of the video.
Sure, just to prove you do that you have the goods.
Prove that you have it, right?
It's kind of like sending them a finger in the mail.
Yes, like an ear.
Yes, exactly.
Van Gogh, that thing. But the weirdest thing is that instead of doing that, this was uploaded to a pornographic website with her full name. Already.
Before blackmail?
Removing the incentive.
That's like putting the cart in front of the horse here, guys.
Entirely. Wagging that dog.
Evidently, they have not gone to blackmail school.
Yeah, and this is what the message said that they sent to her. Promise me my own show. That's the hottest. No need to show your face. Then I will disappear and remove the video forever before they get copied on every website.
That's really not.
No, it's not really how the internet works.
No, not really. It doesn't sound like these blackmail people really had a good game plan.
Yeah, right?
Like
it's out there. It's out there. Yeah. So the unidentified sender knew where she attended school, supposedly, knew her workplace, knew that she had been in New York staying at the Hilton to take the bar exam. And the woman didn't respond to these threats. Right.
Sure.
And so when she didn't respond, the video was posted to more pornographic websites.
We're going to get your attention one way or another.
And a week later, I know. And a week later, the video was sent to her friends, colleagues, and former classmates.
Oh.
And the person demanded $2,000 immediately and $1,000 per month for a year. And I'm like, how about just $12,000, man? Like what $1,000 per month? Why do I have to do math?
Was it you buying a car or you blackmailing somebody? What?
No money down. Today only blackmail services.
Wow.
No money down.
So okay, now I'm just saying, if you're going to blackmail somebody, wanting an installment plan is really stupid. Because,
really horrible
you'd have
I'll
to.
give you a chance to track me down every month.
Yeah. I'll give you my address where you can send the checks.
Mm-hmm.
What?
We're going to start at this store, and then we're going to go to this one. So the woman is suing the owner of the actual hotel that she stayed at in Albany, New York. And she's also suing Hilton worldwide. And she says that she believes that the person that emailed her was an employee who could have gotten her name and contact information from the hotel database. But, okay, here is my question.
Mm-hmm.
How did they know all that other stuff? Come on.
Like what,
like
school?
her former classmate.
Oh, yeah. Somebody.
Her job, the coworkers.
Someone she knows. I would think right away is in on it.
I think it's her.
You would think so, Dr. Cole? Really?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because it just seems incredible. And it sounds like somebody that really doesn't know how to blackmail.
Yeah, this person is not very good at it. But when you think about it now that you said that would fit. Because she knew too much.
Yeah, and she didn't take, the video, while video of a shower is, yes, awful. It's a terrible invasion of privacy. It's not doing other things that could be, more embarrassing. It's a person taking a shower. Like, I can't even believe a pornography website would even be interested in that. I'm sorry, it's just true.
Yeah, I don't frequent those sites very often, but the only time
it doesn't I can't wait to see a stranger take it.
Yeah, that would not be very appealing to me. I would not say, I love bathing videos. That's right. Scrub that down. Make sure you exfoliate.
Next to godliness.
Yeah, baby. Use conditioner. Yes, she's using conditioner.
She's combing it through her hair. I know that I sound kind of jaded right now. And if she is a legitimate victim, I am sorry. It's just, there's so many things in this story that don't add up. Like the bad blackmailing procedure, the fact that then when she didn't respond, it was emailed to all these people that are very personal to her. Even people I went to school with. I'd have to look up names to find out who they were.
Yeah, that means someone has a copy of her yearbook.
Yeah, and they didn't say what school. If they're talking about law school or whatever, it's hard. You don't have yearbooks. It's not the
really,
same.
No.
It's
not
the
same,
how did they get all this information about her? How did they even know she was in town to take the bar exam?
Yeah, maybe she's conspiring with whoever is helping her. Provided that's the truth now, just saying possibly, and very well could not be possible. She really could be a victim. But for argument's sake, let's go with your thoughts. Maybe she is conspiring. So maybe someone that does work at the Hilton, she knew them, got together, maybe a disgruntled employee. Let's do $100 million lawsuit. If I win, I'll give you $25 million of it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Hilton clearly has the money. And the other thing that's a little interesting to me is that this Albany Hilton Hotel, so she's the only person that's ever been violated there. Also, a little strange.
That is a little strange.
Yeah, it had drilled into, I would assume, there are vents and things in bathrooms.
Yeah.
That could be where a camera would be placed. So that's the only video they ever blackmailed anyone about?
That does seem a little strange. They have really good attorneys, Hilton. And I'm sure that they're going to pick up on what you're putting down, Dr. Cole, and they're going to be thinking the same thing. I would assume they would at least look at that and dig into whether it was not necessarily not her perpetrating this crime.
Yeah, and if it's somebody that would be something that would be incredibly easy to track down. I mean, they'd have to get a cybercrime unit, but find out where these emails are coming from, where they're routed through.
They can track that IP address in a heartbeat and find out right where it's at, the terminal and everything. Where was that at? And they can tell you.
And if they subpoena the pornography websites, they'll can find.
Yeah. Because when they upload, they're going to have all that stuff. So that's a little crazy. That's real crazy, is what that is.
So I cannot wait to see how this one turns out. I guess the only thing about that I was thinking about is that if it is just her, right?
Yeah.
And this person knew all these intimate details about her, she's got a lot more than just a pornography case. This would be a very, very serious stalker.
Yes, it would.
That's scary. That's really, really scary.
Yeah. If it is indeed a perpetrator.
But wait a second. Now I'm just thinking that it's very clever. I don't know if I would have thought of that, Clarissa, as far as it being her. So it's really what you're saying is, to summarize for those of us who are slower, you're saying that it's not really about the blackmail at all, which is rather preposterously low. Let's face it. 12,000 is not, or 14,000 is not going to change someone's life.
No,
it's about the lawsuit, which that's a life changer. So I get that now. But as far as information, I mean, I don't really think I've heard anything you've said that you can't get off someone's Facebook. It tells what school you went to. It tells who you're, you can see who you're. And on and on and on.
Only if you show that, though.
Only if you show that, and I would like to think that somebody that graduated from law school wouldn't be quite that transparent. And how did they know that she was in town to take the bar exam? That would be much harder to know. I've taken my own exams. Unless you talk about it in a public space
on Facebook.
I mean, I guess
Facebook?
They could on Facebook. You're right. Maybe they could get this information. But again, why is it just her? Why haven't more people come forward? Why did they focus on her?
That's true.
I have a lot of questions. More questions than they're giving me answers for.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on this case. See what develops out of it, if anything.
Yeah, and maybe more people will come forward.
You just never know.
Maybe some people paid.
Yeah.
And were too embarrassed and didn't come forward. So who knows what we're going to find out. But let's just say that if she is involved, I wouldn't be shocked.
Good point.
Clever.
A little odd.
Yeah.
But here's a more patently ridiculous story, because I'm sorry to laugh. I already feel bad for laughing. But because this is the title of the story. Mm-hmm. A 300-pound woman pleads guilty to killing her 120-pound boyfriend by sitting on him.
Oh, my good Lord. Oh, my good Lord.
And in medieval times, that was called being pressed.
Yes.
So this large lady sits on her 120-pound boyfriend and kills him.
Apparently they'd been having an argument. They'd been drinking and craving crack cocaine.
You crave it?
That's what it says.
I can really go for some of that crack rock.
Yes, and the cause of death was, quote, respiratory insufficiency secondary to blunt force trauma to the neck and thoracic compression exacerbated by blunt force trauma to the head. So,
oh my gosh,
meaning
she beat him first, then
she hit him first. Yep, and then
wow, and this girl does not look happy in this picture. Oof.
No,
that's a tough-looking girl.
Yeah, I don't know if she's tough or if she's just embarrassed. I can't really tell, but either way, I don't know if I'd want to be in a cell with her that way.
I wouldn't want to. I wonder now if they're going to take her weight as a lethal weapon now.
Oh, good God.
You know, don't put her in a cell with anybody that's less than 200 pounds. She just might kill them.
Oh my God. So yeah, she's going to be in court. I guess she was found guilty. She'll be in court for sentencing, either though she took a deal. Prosecutors are recommending the woman spend 18 to 36 years behind bars.
That's a long time.
Yes.
That's a very long time. That's an expensive seat
that's
right
what
there.
you get for sitting on little skinny people.
And well, she had to hit him first, otherwise he just would have moved.
Yes, I agree.
She had to incapacitate him. That way he didn't hear the beeping noise as it backed up.
Investigators said that she also slashed the boyfriend Butler across his hand with a knife before sitting on him with her head pressing against the sofa for leverage.
Oh my good Lord. She had a plan.
She didn't just sit on him. She really did press him.
Yeah, she did.
Literally.
Wow.
This reminds me. I think I've told this before, but you tell me if you've heard it. When I last lived in California in the late 80s, and there's a suburb of LA that is highly Asian, and in particular there's a very large Samoan community, and the Samoans are known, at least they were then, it is a while ago now, for having ceremonial, and I think they have to get special permission. In fact, I know they did, or at least they used to roast a horse.
Oh. What?
Yeah, it's some kind of religious quasi-ceremonial thing for Samoans. So once a year, they eat a horse.
Oh.
All right?
But of course.
Thanks, Mr. Ed.
Wilbur, why are you cooking me?
Did you know that Alan Young, who is Wilbur, was also Scrooge McDuck?
I did not know that.
No.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
We were watching Disney Christmas cartoons with the grandchildren yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Super fun. And Scrooge McDuck plays Scrooge in Mickey's Christmas Carol. And, of course, they showed the credits. And then it reminded me, Alan Young, who was Wilbur, and many other things as well, was Scrooge McDuck.
Wilbur. Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, what I want to tell you about the Samoans is, kind of right before I left to come back to Ohio, there was a huge, massive incident around the horse roast, and a Samoan woman, who I believe, I could be slightly off, but I don't think too much, who was approximately 6'5", 600 pounds.
Whoa.
Went on a rampage of sorts, and was tossing policemen
to and fro.
To and fro, like they were rag dolls.
She was just horsing around, man.
And eventually she sat on someone.
Oh my good Lord.
And would have killed him.
Oh.
For sure, if there hadn't been others around to, I don't know what, roll her off. I mean, imagine what
the humanity.
Human being, 6'5", 600 pounds.
Wow.
And she was just tossing them like they were twigs. The cops
throwing them around.
You just toss them around. There's pictures of cops everywhere, all akimbo, some with legs up in the air, head stuck in the dirt. It was just mad.
Wow.
So there you go. At least it wasn't her.
Pandemonium.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to me. A terrible way to die.
It's a horrible way to go.
Yeah, unreal. Well,
okay then. Oh.
On that note, I would like to share a story that I feel like I have shared before, but I haven't. It's a new one.
Oh.
But we've had versions of this story in the past.
Sure.
So a Texas high school teacher was arrested after mistakenly showing porn on a projection screen to students in a classroom.
Oh, really?
Well, and it gets even better because he was a computer science teacher, first of all. And second, it was child porn.
Oh, that guy's going up the river. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, where did it come from?
First of all, I feel like this is necessary. His name is James Allman from Texas. Feel the need to put it out there. 45 years old. It looks like everything was seized, right? So they got his work laptop, his iPad, his external hard drive, and his micro SD card. All of them had child porn.
Oh no!
Oh, good.
Oh man! So this guy goes to show the students a film, and I'm going to assume he didn't think that maybe his porn would show up when he hit the play button.
I don't know.
And unless
maybe he subconsciously did it on purpose.
Maybe he wanted to get caught. Yeah, maybe he wanted the help.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm absolutely shocked. He was hired by the school in 2016, and it's Belton. So I know where Belton is. I went to Baylor in Texas, right? So Belton's right nearby, small community near to Waco, and they said that they charged him with possession of child porn. And I'm like, that's it?
That's all? Wow, somebody must have liked him or something.
Yeah, I'm like, the fact that a classroom full of minors saw that's dissemination of child porn, is what that is.
Well, how much of it did he show?
It actually doesn't matter. Like any tiny little clip of it would count in a court of law. But
dang.
No. Yeah.
Dang.
I don't know. Who knows? But the kids were saying that they were shot. I mean, he showed enough of it. Let's put it this way. He showed enough of it that Belton students were saying that they were shocked.
Well, that they knew what it was. Put it that way.
Yeah, they knew what it was. Everybody knew what it was right away. So, enough of it that everybody knew what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. Boy, his mugshot is not pretty. Let me just tell you. That's a man.
Looks quite defeated right there.
Yeah, he does. Well, he just lost everything because of his own actions.
So.
Yep.
Rightfully so. And that's the thing too. Like, people have asked me that question before, like, possession of child porn, like when they round up these rings, and people possess it, but they don't make it themselves, and they've never offended against a child themselves. They're like, well, do you feel like they're sex offenders? And I'm like, well, yeah. Yes, they are, because they are, without the consumers, they wouldn't make it.
That's true.
Child porn would not be made.
Has to be a market.
So is that a pedophile? Does that count? Is that a pedophile?
It's very interesting that you asked that. Yes and no. They are supposed to have acted on the urges, but but possession of child porn, like going to seek out the porn, is acting on the urges, and it seems like his primary attraction is to children, which is sort of the definition of pedophilia. So
yeah, that's
yes, he would qualify. I would diagnose him with it. Yes.
Sad state of affairs, and that's what's going on in our educational systems. Well, that's
computer science teacher.
Yeah.
Well, that's absurd. What percentage? It just shocks me, because we've talked about this before. Every time it comes up, it's just so alien to me, and I know to you guys, of course, as well. What percentage of people out there have these proclivities? I'm just shocked how often this comes up.
I know and it's going to scare you when I tell you, which is even worse. It's estimated, depending on the population, that it's from anywhere from 5 to 10% of men.
Oh my God!
Have an interest in children sexually. Yeah.
Well, isn't that approximately the same percentage that is estimated to be gay?
I don't know, actually. I would have to look that up. That I don't know, because it's not considered aberrance, so I don't study it.
Yeah. Slippery
much,
slope. Slippery slope. Yep, getting up slippery slope.
I wasn't. I was only talking about percentages. I was not.
Oh yeah, no, that's
not
what
in
I mean.
any way was I.
No, but that's what I mean. Since it's not a diagnosis, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is. But in this way, and I am able to talk about it this way, is that being gay is a sexual orientation, just like pedophilia is a sexual orientation. And I know that upsets people. People get very angry when someone says that. But sexual orientation just means that it's a primary group that you're attracted to, right? So, heterosexuals primarily attracted to the opposite sex. Homosexuals primarily attracted to the same sex. Pedophiles are primarily attracted to children. It is a sexual orientation. It is horrible. It is against the law. It is immoral.
Yes,
but it is
absolutely.
an orientation.
Yes,
and there is there's evidence that they're born that way. And I just looked it up, Eric. Yes, you are correct. That is about the same percentage of people that are gay.
Wow.
Interesting.
So, okay.
What can that mean? Nothing, probably, but it's certainly
interesting.
Interesting.
It does. I mean, like I said, the stuff out of Canada is showing that it is an orientation that is born in, that they've known from their earliest ages that they are attracted to children. I know, and actually, I mean, to not to make light of it, a lot of them are there are a lot of people. It is mostly men. We don't know why it doesn't affect women as much. You know what I mean? It could be genetically linked to the chromosome that way. With men, a lot of them don't act on it. There are a lot of inactive pedophiles who do not harm children in a hands-on way, but they know they're attracted to children, and they've always known that. So,
I have to go take a shower, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, I mean, it is very scary.
I like the part about haven't acted on it. That shows self-awareness, some decency.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I hear you.
And just like any sort of like criminal, you have to take those protections away, for somebody to act on it. The sort of like the moral compass, the religion, the family, and by and large, people that act on their pedophilia have less of those. Less of a good social structure, less religiosity. They offend partially because they feel like they can, or they're higher in psychopathy or whatnot.
Yeah.
They don't feel empathy for their victims, but the ones that don't act on it usually have a very good network of people.
Yeah.
Some of them even have spouses that are aware of it, which I know will blow people's minds.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
There are people out there that are married that they know that their husband is a pedophile that does not.
Prepubescent children? No. I mean, I'm just saying that's just wrong. Just wrong. Just wrong. It's wrong, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion and your opinion and Eric's opinion. And every free-thinking, normal person that is here should be your opinion. Okay, moving along.
I guess if you're born with it, what can you do other than not act upon it? I mean, in other words, I guess I'm saying you can't be blamed. You shouldn't be blamed for being born with that inclination as long as you don't act on it.
I totally agree with you. And that's the hardest thing for people to come to terms with, is that most people get just outraged when anybody from my field even insinuates that, because they want it to be a fault. You know what I mean? Like, they chose to be attracted. Like, for some reason, they want it to be like anybody could just decide to be attracted to children. And that's not the way it works. It's not. Like, the decision, if you want to lay blame, is to act on it or not.
True.
That's where the blame is.
True.
Not for being attracted to children, but it's since it's so abhorrent to most people, obviously difficult to get past that point.
Well, and I think the same thing applies, since we're sort of off on this tangent, and we've brushed upon it many times, so maybe it's okay we're digging a little more deeply into it. I think the exact same thing applies, for example, to priests. I don't care if you were born, with an inclination. Just don't act upon it. And you would think that priests, of all people, who has more support networks, who has more religiosity, you would think they would be best suited to not indulge in these things. And you would think they would have empathy, and you would think they would have regard for their own souls.
You would absolutely think so. I think the biggest problem, and well, now I'm about to outrage a whole other group, so send the hate mail my way. I think the biggest problem with priests in the Catholic Church is that the Catholic Church has long been a haven for adult pedophiles, and it's a very known thing. I'm saying this from experiences that I have had with people that have left the diocese. So there are several people that I know personally, one I worked with, another person that I knew very well personally, who left the diocese because they were pressured immediately upon, getting into, becoming a priest, to either have sex with priests themselves, so homosexual activity, or to abuse children, or to look the other way when children were abused. It was not even a secret. I was going to say open secret. It wasn't even a secret. Everybody knew. Everyone. And so when it is, and these two people that I'm talking about that I know personally are from totally different areas of the country, and have the exact same experience.
Well, the Pope is finally, it would appear, at least attempting, to address these things. And he's saying it's a culture, and he's saying it has got to be weeded out. And how did this come to be? It so undermines. I don't have anything at all against the Catholic Church, as an entity. Every church, every religion has some pretty nefarious activities in its history. But as far as, what's going on right now, I'm perfectly happy with all the positive things that the Catholic Church does, and I know that it does. But this is so undermines its entire legitimacy because it's so egregious, it's so heinous, and now that it's finally catching up to them. I mean, the financial implications are staggering. They've already paid out, I don't know what, is it billions? It's at least hundreds of millions.
A lot of money.
But it's going to be a lot more because, it's not going to go away and it's not going to be swept under the rug anymore. I mean, at least I think we finally have achieved that. But I mean, the priest who married my brother, he could not have been more clearly gay and pompous and just extremely actually very unpleasant. But the bottom line was he was so flamboyant about it. It's not like there wasn't the tiniest hint, inkling that was not the case. He didn't pretend. He didn't try to downplay anything. And yet he had this arrogance about him that, well, of course, I am what I am. I'm a man of the cloth. Nothing else matters. I can do whatever I want. And it was just so bizarre to me. And if you're saying, and I've heard it from so many others, that this is really quite a pervasive attitude, I mean, there have to be some really dramatic changes that happen now.
Yeah, no, top-down changes. And I'm talking everybody. And outside accountability, too. I'm sick of this. We're putting them in treatment. That has to stop now. It has to be accountability with the law. They need to go to prison and do time like everybody else. This trying to handle it themselves crap is still holding them above the law, the laws of the land. And the other thing is that, I mean, this has been historic. There's a reason that it's with the Catholic Church. I mean, just the brief history lesson on that, right, is that from long ago, many hundreds of years ago, right? If you knew that you were attracted to other men, for instance, or if you knew that you were attracted to children, you didn't want to get married to a woman, right? And have to produce children. That life was just, you couldn't do it. You can't join another religion because other religions, you still get married.
Yeah.
The pastor is still married. The Catholic Church is one of the only ones that says they're celibate.
Yeah.
So that's the one place you can go and not have to live a life where you are forced to live a lie. And then you find out that there's a bunch of other people like you. Yeah. So it bred itself over, I mean, generations of time, hundreds of years. It bred itself into this pedophile haven, because now people can be openly gay. They don't have to go into the church to be a gay man anymore. That is okay. It's fine. But pedophiles still have to hide. And that's a way of hiding in plain sight and getting access to victims easily. It's the perfect cover.
It's scary.
But that's the Catholic Church needs to change in a dramatic way, and they're doing it all wrong. I can tell you already. Like paying out money to these families, that's not, that's the thing. For the most part, I don't think that's what these families want. I think they want justice. Mm-hmm. They want justice, and they're not getting that. They're getting a check. Yeah. How is that helping?
But they're accepting
to go to another diocese?
They're accepting a check, though. The families,
good.
Right? I mean,
you know what though? I don't blame them for that. They should. Their kids' life was ruined.
But
I'll take your money and your justice.
But then why are not law enforcement going after them? That's going to be on them too. I mean, because they're not pressing it.
No, they should be arresting them. They're not above the law. It doesn't matter if the Catholic Church says we're going to send him to a different diocese, we're going to send him to treatment. I would cuff him and go, after he does his at least 7 years. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And good for you. I'm glad you're getting treatment when you're done.
Because law enforcement would seem then, and by that, they are putting them above the law.
They are. Law enforcement is too, and a huge percentage of law enforcement is Catholic. Don't forget that.
It's a scary. I mean, by and large, the Catholic faith is a wonderful faith at its heart, and it does wonderful things. And it's not all priests, by the way, they're that way.
No, I think Catholic people are amazing. I'm not so sure about their leadership.
I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, but there is a percentage. I would imagine small, but they're the ones that we hear about because it's so egregious and heinous and just wrong. And not to say that there isn't priests in small communities and big communities and in between. They're doing amazing, wonderful things.
Yeah, agreed.
But it is always the bad apples we hear about in the cart.
Well, if it's 10%,
that's
which is the estimate of the population, if that 10% is acting on it, that's an enormous number. That's 1 in 10.
Yeah. And I can already tell you, I know it's greater in the Catholic Church for priests. It is, because it draws them. You know what I mean? Like, I have a huge percentage of pedophiles. A lot of them thought about going to school to be a priest. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of them did. Some of them became priests. I mean, most of them talked about it. Like, they very open, pedophiles that I've treated openly talk about it. They say, I wanted to become a Catholic priest. Well, why? So I wouldn't have to marry an adult woman, so that I could do what I wanted to do. And it's a draw. You know what I mean? Like, the Catholic Church could do away with, first of all, do away with their justice system, deal with the justice of the land, and let priests get married. Could you just do that?
Yeah.
You know, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
But, I agree.
Well, I
agree.
I mean, that was one of Martin Luther's complaints, and that's 500 years ago.
Yeah. I was raised Lutheran. They were corrupt back then. So.
As was I, and am. I'm still a Lutheran. And Eric, I know we've talked about before, so are you. So, we're all good Lutheran folk here. So there's nothing wrong with that either. But let's move along here. We got to talk about the guy on the subway.
All right, we've beaten that dead pedophile.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this is a different type of pervert, and I'm almost sorry that there are pictures attached, but I hope you looked at them.
Those pictures.
Good
those are something else.
With Tom Jones, is it to shame? So this is a guy named, what is his name here? Costa Colaci, right?
Yeah.
He was arrested in April while after a bunch of posters went up around Brooklyn because a woman apparently took some video of him on the subway. She was sitting across from him on the subway, and she said that he was touching himself in a way that made her somewhat uncomfortable. And then she said that he began essentially masturbating through his pants. So he didn't expose anything, but he was clearly engaged in
pocket pool.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm struggling.
Well, no, he wasn't. No, because they deemed that he was innocent, by the way. So he wasn't.
Well, no.
I mean, I'm just saying,
they didn't deem that he was innocent.
Yeah, they did. He got off.
The judge, the judge.
No pun intended.
12 jerks got him off. Come on.
No, he never went through a trial. The judge said that the prosecution essentially didn't have enough evidence and that she had to dismiss the case, but didn't want to because she believed he was guilty. So they didn't take it to trial, but she believed he was guilty. But basically, his attorney said that he's not guilty. It's just that he is particularly well endowed. And there are still pictures on the internet, in case you're curious. Good Lord. What are you, smuggling a zucchini? What are you doing?
He's the Italian stallion. I mean, what do you want?
I would be afraid of him from across a room. I don't even know what to make of it. And so his lawyer argued that, hey, man.
So he's probably not Asian.
No, yeah. He was just sitting on the subway.
He looks Italian.
More stereotypes. More stereotypes.
Yes. No, so basically she said that the woman was at fault because she just couldn't stop staring.
Well,
she wasn't there.
I mean, it says here he was just readjusting the package.
Well, that's what he says.
Yeah. And she was definitely zeroing in on that part of his anatomy with that camera.
It's kind of hard not to.
I'm just saying, it's like, you know what? It's really not fair to him. Let me be devil's advocate here for just a minute. It's really not fair to him because what about women that are very well endowed? And people are always staring at them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, well, this guy just happens to be the same thing, just further south. He can't help it.
No, I agree with you, but when he is readjusting himself multiple times for 10 seconds straight, as it was measured in the video that he was doing.
I'm abandoning the devil. Yeah, I'm abandoning the devil's advocate thing. Nope, I'm sorry. I can't defend him.
So
I tried.
And basically, there's something in the law there that says that it has to be more egregious in a public area. So given that he didn't actually expose anything and it wasn't super egregious, the judge basically said that on the face of it, they didn't think it was a solid enough case to take it to a trial.
Solid enough case.
Sorry, man.
The judge said his hands are tied.
Listeners are weighing in and saying this lady had better not ever go to a baseball game.
It's no. I mean, it's so. But the thing that's interesting about it is that even though this is already kind of done, he is in federal immigration custody, facing deportation.
Oh no!
Which is triggered by his arrest. Yeah.
Yeah. So the stallion is not quite free yet.
It is not. It will be free in Albania.
He's kicking in the stall.
She stated that she observed the man's stuff erect and appeared to be almost protruding from his pants. Wow!
I think he might just be built that way.
Is that the bottom of the leg, or?
Oh my gosh! She was extremely upset.
Wow, man!
But she felt right to videotape it. Apparently,
yeah, she was cool with that.
It's a strap down package.
It must be. It must be. Wow, that's wow. All right then.
I want to get to this story really quick because I am so appalled. I can't even. It's like I can't deal with it.
Oh no!
Which
you
one?
You have reached outrage fatigue.
I kind of have, yeah. So, and this happened in Miami.
Okay.
A grandmother, was mistakenly booked into Miami jail as a man.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I guess the strip search was not very, telling when they were booking her in.
No, they did. So basically so first of all, just a little background on this person before people get all like judgy about her. She's in her 50s now. She is an attorney. She was coming to visit. She's an attorney in the Dominican Republic. She was coming back to Miami to visit a newly born grandchild when she found out that there was an old drug case from decades ago still pending. So they decided to, and who knows, it could have been she was smoking pot somewhere. You know what I mean? It could be anything.
Wait. So there's no statute of limitations? I mean, if it's decades ago, why would they even care?
Who knows? Well, I don't know what the charge is. They didn't extrapolate. So maybe it is more serious. But And honestly, I've seen it. I've seen them arrest people coming out of prison that parole on something that I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not up. The statute isn't up, or some like petty case. I've seen it before. Who knows? But they arrested her apparently for some good cause, and she wasn't fighting that. She was like, "Oh wow, okay, I had no idea. I absolutely will submit." So they arrest her. They do a strip search. They do a body cavity search.
Oh my God.
Which is routine when booking someone into a jail.
Now,
routine.
really quickly, Clarissa, is this the lady pictured in the caption?
Yes.
That's her. She looks like a woman.
No kidding. She looks like a grandmother is what she looks like.
Yeah.
She looks like a grandmother. So they did this whole thing, which, by the way, is very dehumanizing when they do that, when they book you into jail. So, but she's perfectly polite, submits to the body cavity search, submits to everything. Then they send her, which also is routine because she had medication with her. So they sent her to see the doctor and the nurse because that's, typical. And they are cataloging her medication, and she is taking hormones. And because she was taking hormones, the nurse and doctor decided that she must be transitioning into a man.
All right.
And they did not do any sort of search on her, like as far as body search on her. They just they checked the box for man and left it at that. And the nurse added a note to her file saying transgender, male parts, female tendencies. She doesn't have male parts, and she was on the hormones as part of hormone replacement therapy. Like when you go through menopause.
Yeah.
That's what they were for.
She's gonna sue, right? I mean, she is a lawyer and a public official, I might add.
I hope she sues them for every cent any one of them has.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
And I hope that both the nurse and the doctor never work with, humans again.
Wow. Man.
I wouldn't want
horses.
I wouldn't want them working on my dogs, but I'm sorry. The fact that you did... And
that is horrifying. It really is.
in a cell for 10 hours in Miami with all men.
No, I'm looking at this article. I'm trying to find out.
Massive lawsuit.
I'm trying to even find out what the original crime was. I'm looking here, and I'm not seeing what the beef was.
And she was surrounded. She was placed in a large holding cell known as 3 Alpha Wing. She was surrounded by about 40 men that were laughing and yelling out, "Mommy, mommy!" And she was so afraid to use the toilet that she urinated on herself instead.
Oh yeah, she's gonna make some money. No.
I hope her and the rest of her family and her grandchild. I hope that's what she does. She comes to her grandchild with a $5 million check and says, "Here's your trust fund, kid."
Yeah. Okay. What would happen if this were to happen in California? I mean,
a lot of money. A lot.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen some crazy things in prison.
Yes, people would retire early. People would resign. They would be fired if they absolutely had to be. That's always, like with
would
any
they be jailed though? Would there be false imprisonment implications as well? Because it was false. They didn't realize she was a woman, and so she was put in the wrong prison.
She was put in the wrong holding cell in a jail, and it's that. I mean, they should lose their jobs at the very, very least.
Well,
and I think she is suing them personally as well. So
let's just be honest. Our criminal justice system sucks anyway. So I mean, this is just a little more suckiness going on.
To me, this is unfair. And there are mistakes that are made sometimes that I can absolutely understand how they got made. Like things that happen that the public is like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that." But knowing the inside the way I do, I go, "Well, okay, this is how that could happen." You know, this is not one of those. This is like
it is so far out of the norm,
I feel bad.
or out of the acceptable range. This poor woman.
Well, even the officers, I guess. So even the correctional officers, when they came to get her from the medical area, they had checked man, on the form, and the officers were about to lead her away to the female holding cell, and the officers protested. They were like, wait, no. No, we're taking her to the female holding cell. And the nurse brushed it off and said, "She's a man," and walked away. That's it. And they had to do it. They had to put her in. That is kind of how it works. Like if I were to designate that somebody had a mental health issue and they needed a special, you know what I mean? They kind of have to follow that.
Yeah.
So they didn't have
I
a
am
choice.
guessing that pair is not a fan of the transgender movement. Perhaps this was all some sort of protest against the transgender movement.
That's what it sounds like, because the level of sort of like disdain that they were treating her with sounds like that they were trying to make some sort of a statement, thinking that she was transgendered. And the thing is that she claims, and I believe her, she claims that they didn't ask her anything about like why she was taking the hormones. they never asked her if it was because of wanting to transition or whatnot. They just assumed.
Clarissa, how fast do you think this drug charge is going to be thrown out of court?
You know what? I think if they give her $100 million, she's not going to care. Like 6 months? Sure. This is, I think the drug charge is absolutely has probably already gone bye-bye.
Well,
I don't care if she was Pablo Escobar's main transport person.
It must have been pretty big, though, for them to hold on to that long.
I disagree with you. I've seen it too many times, especially people that are not, from this country. Mm-hmm. Like, if their fingerprint is on file and they come through an airport, it triggers something. Bang, it's done. Even if the statute of limitations is, technically they couldn't pursue it in court. I have seen them arrest people. I've seen them do it multiple times where that no court of law is going to try that because the statute is up. They'll arrest them anyway.
Wow.
That's the thing. They'll look you and hold you for 2 days and let you go.
But then once you realize statute of limitations are up, you turn around and sue, right? Because
you can't.
Wow. Okay,
they can hold you.
So,
they can hold you. If they have probable cause, they can hold you.
Doing this show that we've been doing for a long time, I get a lot of listener emails about just how corrupt our system is. Mm-hmm. And an attorney got a hold of me a while back, I'd say about a year ago. I did some research. 95% of cases are pled out. 5% go to trial. If everybody went to trial, it would cripple our system.
Oh, it would.
Everybody go to trial. Everybody go to trial.
You know what the problem is there, though? It's not the system per se. It's the lawyers.
Yeah.
If I can count on, like, not any of my fingers, how many lawyers that actually want to take a trial to court. They don't want to.
Yeah.
They have to spend too much time on it. They actually have to work. And yes, I am saying that directly to you. I'm sorry. Lawyers and I are not friends. I'm not friends with lawyers for a very good reason, because I see guys locked up who did go to trial with absolutely incompetent attorneys. Doesn't mean that they were angels, but are you kidding me? And so many attorneys have also told some of these guys to take deals. And I'm like, you're facing a possible death penalty case. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
If you didn't do this component of the crime, why would you do that? And they said, well, my attorney said I would get a better deal. And I'm like, you took life. How is that a better deal?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
barely a better deal.
It's truly,
you're still alive, sort of.
It's truly broken. It's really a broken system. Once that attorney got a hold of me and pointed that out, and I did some digging, and it did hold water. That's a sad state of affairs.
And the plea deals often, I would say the majority of the time, do not benefit the client. They don't.
No,
they benefit the attorney.
Yeah. They just
the attorney
want to
doesn't
get
have
done
to go to
with.
trial. Yeah, they want to be done with it. They don't want to actually dig into it. And this does, another reason, like, people complain about the system being biased and not being colorblind. It's very much true, because I see the different deals. I've read thousands of reports on lifers now, and the guys who are white, they get better deals. I'm sorry. They have the exact same crime, and they get better deals. They're up for parole, like 7 to life. They're up for a possible parole in 8 years.
But there's also
other guys get 25 to life.
And some of it, the same attorney also brought up trial penalties. That if you go to trial, they're going to hit you with everything they possibly can.
They absolutely will. They're going to charge you with the top thing.
Yep. And that's a real thing. Trial penalty. They claim it doesn't exist. It does exist. Absolutely does.
The only thing I can say about that is that if you know that the charges are trumped up to higher than they should be, do go to trial. Do it. And the reason I say that is because if they don't give the option of a lower charge, you might get off completely. It's just true. I've seen it enough times where people, they want it to be first-degree murder. They go for first-degree murder, but everybody knows it wasn't.
Well, that's the full enchilada, though. First degree.
It is.
You got to get a grand jury to agree with you first.
Well, but a lot of times they will, and then they get to trial, and then the attorneys realize that they can't prove first degree. They've got second degree well in hand, but that's not one of the possible findings.
So if they get off on first, they can't turn around and get another bite at the apple and say second degree, double jeopardy. Gotcha. Is that why they always try for second degree more often than not?
Yes. It is always why they do second degree. And I know I hear complaints about that from, especially from victims groups saying that he should have been charged with first degree. And it's not that I disagree with you. It's just that the prosecutor wanted to be sure that this guy went away for 25 to life for sure. And a first degree is really hard to prove. And it's hard. It's even harder to get a jury to understand it. Because what a jury thinks of, what the layperson thinks of as premeditation is like sitting around with your master plan.
Yeah. In your lair. In your lair with a map and yarn. With
I know, with the little pins in the board going, and then she's going to take 7 steps this way.
Yeah.
No, it's not like a bad episode of Home Alone. Like, that's not what premeditation is.
Yeah. I'd love to have a lair, by the way. I need a lair. That's what I need. I need one of those. I think one should have one.
A man needs a lair.
All right.
That's still young. So.
we got to get out of here. We have to go to break. We come back. We're going to be covering the Waterfield and Gore case. Punishment served or justice denied. In the meantime, while we're on break, make sure you head on over to thecriminalcode.com so you can follow along with the case. Be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off. I can't believe it. I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's a shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Now, I hope everybody fired up the browsers, if you were able to, and headed on over to thecriminalcode.com to follow along with tonight's tale of murder, mayhem, and relatives.
Indeed. Well, I have a brief intro I can do.
Yes, please.
And then Clarissa can take over. This compelling, cautionary episode of After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. We examine heinous 80s Florida serial rape murder duo Gore and Waterfield, highlighted by Dr. Clarissa Cole's analysis of the crimes and misunderstood relationship between the killers, who were also cousins. She begins. This duo has been dubbed Gore and Waterfield, as though Gore, the one who received the death penalty, was the dominant of the two. Sounds like a vice president. The driving force, when you look at them up online, Gore is featured prominently with a Murderpedia page, a Wikipedia page, and more. But Waterfield, he's noted mostly as an accomplice. But that description could not be more wrong.
Dun, dun, dun.
In all caps. I turn it over to Dr. Clarissa Cole.
That was amazing. I would like all of my write-ups to sound like soccer matches.
It's funny because, really quickly, Waterfield and Gore sounds like a prog rock band or something. Now taking the stage, Waterfield and Gore.
I think of like some weird pen company, like we make luxury fountain pens.
Visit us at Waterfield and Gore for all your murder needs.
It sounds like a presidential tandem.
It does. Yes, and this Gore, by the way, is not related that I'm aware of to the vice president from before.
But he is to Waterfield.
Yes. Oh my. So before I get into like why I think that they have been cataloged incorrectly, let me just go over their crimes really quick and basically who they are. So Fred Waterfield was, let's see. Let's start. Who was born first? I'm doing it wrong. Okay. David Gore. He was born in 1951 in Florida, Indian River County. And if you see online, you look at sort of, you even get it sort of from the mugshot of him, even as an adult. He was sort of a pudgy, uncoordinated kid.
Sure.
And you'll love this because we were just talking about it off the air here. He failed gym class all 4 years of high school.
All 4?
Failed gym!
How do you fail gym?
I don't know, but he did it.
Wow.
The only way to fail gym is to not try.
Yeah, to not try, not participate. And he really was not involved in any like groups, any extracurriculars, but he did like firearms. So he was self-taught on guns. He was very interested. Yeah, very interested in that. He was pretty obsessed with guns throughout his childhood. And he was also obsessed with women, but the women didn't quite feel the same about him. And he was a kind of a loner, a quiet kid. And Gore's cousin, so his blood cousin, Fred Waterfield, was born just a year later, 1952, in the same area of Florida. And Waterfield, on the other hand, he was good looking, he was popular, he ended up being a high school football star, he always had a succession of girlfriends, he had a swagger about him. But he and Gore, Waterfield and Gore, it was just to hang out together, which, even if they're related, would seem a little weird. Because you've got like a football star and then this like weird, pudgy, awkward kid. It was just a little strange, but over time they sort of realized they had a lot in common, and the most prominent similarity between the two was a desire to sexually assault women.
Oh, yay!
Woohoo! Yeah, like I don't even want to know how you figured that out, but
wait! You want to assault chicks? Yeah, I do too.
What?
Rape the hell out of them.
God.
Exactly. So like in 1976, now by 76, remember they were born in the early 50s, right? 76, they're in their early 20s. They decide to like, all right, let's get this train moving, right? So they decide to actively go and hunt a woman for abduction. So they actually go out and from a distance shoot out a woman's tires on Interstate 60.
Dang.
I know. Horribly dangerous, right? But she didn't die. She was able to pull over. But she eluded them because where she pulled over was right by a service station. So they were going to go and like run up to her car, but they were so far away that she eluded them by walking to the service station on foot. So,
because he was so out of shape. He never did gym very well.
Yeah, they were really outmatched in the beginning. But in February of 1981, now Gore, he started stalking. He had gotten an auxiliary. I can never say this word. Auxiliary sheriff's deputy badge. So can you? I don't even know what one of those does. Do you guys have those out there? I don't even know what that is.
We don't have one, not that I'm aware of. But what that is let's just say we used to. Now, we used to have them, I want to say. Okay, this is how this would work. Because I do know a few guys from the social medias that are auxiliary police.
Oh, okay.
I know one too.
What it is,
okay,
now,
what do they do? What does that mean?
Their description was this, and maybe Eric, you can, if I'm wrong, you can kind of fill in the blanks. What it is they're basically an overflow cop. So if something major happens, like a disaster or this or that, or a big event or what have you, they can be called into service to serve as law enforcement. They're auxiliary. They're in the waiting should the need arise. Right, Eric?
Yes. In fact, my wife's father, her actual birth father, was that in West Virginia. And he was a mail carrier for a living, but he was also auxiliary police. And yes, it's pretty much exactly what Joel said. The thing is when they call them in, basically they do the grunt stuff like direct traffic, while the other cops, do the
real police work.
Do the real police work when something happens. So they're brought in to do, check the meters or whatever, the parking meters, the low end stuff. But it does imply a certain level of authority. You don't want to minimize
like a badge?
that. Yeah,
they get a badge and stuff.
Yeah.
Do they have to go? What I wanted to know is, do they have to go through like cop training or anything?
I'm sure it depends, on the jurisdiction. You would think they would have to pass some kind of test, though I'm certain it is not like going to the academy.
Interesting. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, because Gore was the less athletic of the two, right? But he apparently applied, got this auxiliary sheriff's badge, and unfortunately, that was kind of his and Waterfield's introduction into being able to do this successfully. Because when you have a badge, people kind of listen to that, like they get freaked out by it. So
one more thing, let me interrupt. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Just
because it sounds like this actually could have some bearing, at least, tangentially. What it usually means is someone.
Yeah.
That's how you get it.
This is how you become an auxiliary cop, if anyone's interested, by and large, according to Google. Auxiliary police officer usually is a person between the ages of 18 or 21 years of age, depending upon the jurisdiction. Most employers prefer professionals who have a minimum of a high school diploma. That's it.
Wow.
And a clean background. And pass a UA. That's it. You too
oh my God.
could become an auxiliary cop should you have a high school diploma.
Good Lord. Yeah. So they give this guy a badge, right? And like handcuffs or something. And so basically he takes that to Waterfield and is like, hey, man, we're in. Like they tried to forcibly abduct somebody at least once, failed miserably. And in February of 1981, Gore started stalking this 17-year-old named Ying-Hua Ling as she got off the school bus. So she's 17, gets off the school bus, and she's like going to walk the rest of the way home. And he flashed a badge at her and then, said, do you want to ride home? And when she sort of like flinched at that, he is saying like, look, I need to drive you home. And for a 17-year-old, see like a sheriff's badge, you're like, all right. So she gets in the car. He takes her home, walks up to her house with her, realizes her mother is there too, and cuffs the two of them together.
Two for the price of one.
Brash.
Yeah.
Very, very much. I mean, like, so he thinks he's getting one victim. He has two. And basically is telling them that they're under arrest, but he can't say for what. And he calls Waterfield from their home because Waterfield doesn't live in this area of Florida. He lives a little further away in Orlando. And Waterfield said he's going to show up, but he has to drive. And in the meantime, Gore takes the women to his father's orchard. His father was an orchard owner, rapes both of them. When Waterfield arrived, he decided that the older Mrs. Ling was too old for his liking, so he tied her up with such force that she suffocated herself trying to wriggle out. And then Waterfield raped Yinghua Ling and murdered her. And on his way out of the orchard, he gave Gore $400 and left his cousin to clean up. And 5 months after the Ling murders, Gore was on the hunt again. This time he was looking for a blonde because Waterfield basically ordered one. He said, "Find me a blonde." That's what Gore did. Yeah, he found a 35-year-old named Judith Daly who was blonde, and he disabled her vehicle, waited for her to come out of whatever shop she was in, and offers to help her. Being a good Samaritan, probably flashed his badge so she feels safe. And as soon as she got in his car, he cuffed her and drove her out to the orchard. Waterfield met him there. They both raped her and then strangled her and dumped her in a swamp for the alligators.
What a lively pair they are.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Waterfield wrote Gore a check for $1,500. 1 week after the Daly murder, Gore attempted to stop a local teenager for questioning, but this teenager was suspicious. So
it'd be funny what he wrote in the ledger for the check. The reason, the note, blonde woman.
Blonde victim.
Yes, blonde victim number 3. So Gore tries to stop a teenager with his badge again. So he flashed the badge, but the teenager didn't stop. Instead, she went home and told her dad. So her dad went straight to the sheriff's office, and they took that badge away.
Well, good.
And not long after that, Gore was arrested on his own, and I have to read this as I wrote it. He had been found crouching in the backseat of a woman's car with a police scanner, handcuffs, a gun, and a cocktail. That is what the appeal records say. You're not going to find that on Murderpedia or Wikipedia. I don't believe that's in his appeal document.
He's drinking a cocktail while he's waiting.
Shirtless, by the way.
Shirtless, yeah. Nothing screams "I'm going to rape you" like drinking a cocktail shirtless with all the implements ready to do so.
In the back of the car.
With
the police scanner.
With the police scanner in one hand.
Running.
Cocktail in the other. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they arrest him for armed trespass, and he was sentenced to 5 years, but he only did 1 year. He was released early, and at this point, Waterfield had moved from Orlando back to Vero Beach, where they grew up together. That's where Gore lived. So now they're in the same neighborhood and everything. And Waterfield is like, "Glad you're out of prison. Let's go get some more victims." So on May 20th of that same year, they abducted 2 14-year-old hitchhikers, Barbara Byer and Angelica Lavalley. They raped the 2 girls and then shot them both to death. Byer was dismembered and buried, and Lavalley was dumped in a nearby canal. And then in July of 1983, Vero Beach authorities, and this is kind of a sleepy town too, just so you get the idea, the phone call coming in. July 1983, Vero Beach authorities received an urgent call about a naked man firing bullets into a nude girl in his driveway.
Oh, into the nude woman?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Imagine getting that call.
That is not what you typically get during the Dodgers spring training. They used to be in Vero Beach.
Oh, God, are you serious?
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
For decades.
Hanging out during the day, you get a call, and you're like, wait, what? So earlier that day, Gore and Waterfield had picked up 17-year-old Lynn Elliott and 14-year-old Regan Martin. They were hitchhiking as well. They flashed a gun almost immediately to gain their compliance, and they proceeded to shuttle them back to Gore's parents' house because his parents were not home, right? Keep in mind, Gore's 30 years old at this point. Mm-hmm. The two separated. They separated the girls, and they took them to separate rooms where they handcuffed them. And at this point, it is thought that Waterfield may have left the scene. It's not clear. But Gore was in a room with Martin, whom he raped repeatedly. And while he was in a room raping Regan Martin, Elliot escaped from the other room. She had gotten out of the cuffs somehow, and she was running. She was fleeing the house. She was running out of the house toward the street. He heard her and was on her tail almost immediately. He saw her, chased her down with his gun, and when he caught up with her in his driveway, he dragged her off to the side of the driveway near a tree and shot her twice in the head, just as a neighbor boy rode by on his bike.
Uh-oh. God, how unhinged these people became,
Yes.
To just, with the impunity or the lack of awareness of life around you. I mean,
Can you believe during the day? I mean, just
broad daylight.
Yeah,
no value for life whatsoever. Just none. I mean, it was almost like a casual thing. You'd order up a blonde, get a blonde, pay $1,500. I mean, it was a horror. Wow, I just can't imagine the lack of any kind of humanity there.
And so incensed, like to be in such a rage that it's the middle of the day and you run out there naked too with a gun and then continue and shoot the person. And Gore said he really, later in interviews, he said he realized right away his mistake. After he shot her, he looked up.
I made a mistake.
Yeah. There's a lot of mistakes leading up to that one, right? But after he shot her, he looked up and actually saw the boy.
Oh, and the boy witnessed it?
They locked eyes, yeah.
Oh, no.
And he knew.
Oh, that poor
Gore
child
knew.
that looked.
Yeah, the kid was only like 12 years old. And so the police, obviously, they show up. A huge amount of police shows up. And Gore, right away, he was alone, and Waterfield wasn't there, and he eventually took police up to the attic where he had cuffed Martin to the rafters. Regan Martin, the 14-year-old, was alive. She had been assaulted repeatedly, but she was alive. And Gore quickly talked after his capture, and he told them about all these other crimes and about Waterfield. Because Waterfield wasn't there. They weren't sure who he was, but he gave it up right away. Yeah. Gore was sentenced to death for the murder of Lynn Elliott. That's the one that escaped. And on February 4th, 1985, he was sentenced to life terms for his part in the Ling, Daily Buyer, and Leveley murders. And on April 12th, 2012, he was put to death by lethal injection. In contrast, on January 21st, 1985, Fred Waterfield was convicted in the Buyer-Leveley murders, receiving 2 consecutive life terms with a minimum stint of 50 years to be served before a shot at parole. But he wasn't ever charged with anything else, and his immediate family still claims Waterfield is innocent.
What?
As you were telling the story, I read every word, I pondered it, was horrified at the heinous crimes and just the utter lack of, all the obvious things, empathy, humanity. But I'm just wondering now, if it wasn't the just incredible, over-the-top, unhinged brazenness of that murder, the naked driveway murder that got him the death penalty. I wonder if that's what did it, because it just sounds so unhinged. Well, that guy must be the ringleader because he's so unhinged. He's crazy, go nuts, running around shooting girls naked in his driveway. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why.
That is a good point. I do wonder about that because it is such a disparity. Like one guy gets multiple life sentences and the death penalty, even though Gore cooperated with police. He took police to multiple sites of where they dumped bodies. They would not have found these women, or if they did, it would have been decades later. I mean, very remote locations. He voluntarily took them out there. He gave up Waterfield. He testified against Waterfield in Waterfield's trial, and yet he's still the one that got the death penalty.
That makes no sense. I mean, but I think you're right, Eric. I think it was that heinous, unhinged, daylight shooting that really sealed that fate for the death penalty.
Because people go, we cannot have someone running around naked shooting girls.
Yeah, yes. That's a bad thing. It really lowers property values.
Yes, it does. And I mean, just scars the entire community, a small community, to know that type of person has been your neighbor this whole time. Yeah. And their families had, like the Waterfield and Gore, the families, they had lived there for at least a generation, if not more. I mean, everybody knew them. It wasn't, Fred Waterfield, Freddie, was the football star. This is totally unfathomable to this.
Well, yeah, because he was community. A star. He was the All-American boy in that community. I mean, good looking. He had all going for him, a star athlete. You wouldn't have thought that at all. I mean, you could definitely see Gore being a weirdo. Come on, a gun nut, kind of pudgy. No one really thought twice about him. In my mind, in a community, you would point the finger at him way before you'd point the finger at Waterfield.
That's a really good point, and I think you're absolutely right on that, Joel. The social status of the two of them, I think that really worked against Gore. the fact that he was kind of a social outcast most of his life
really
worked against him. Whereas with Waterfield, like, I mean, the neighborhood, the neighbors, they called him Freddie, you know, it was an affectionate nickname. He always had girlfriends. He had a beautiful wife. He had 2 daughters, like, you know, whereas Gore had been married, and he does have children, right? But Gore was married like 2 or 3 times. He couldn't keep a marriage together. He wasn't considered a good father. He wasn't considered a good provider. And Waterfield was exactly the opposite. He made good money. He had a beautiful family. Like, people didn't expect this of him. And I think that is, honestly, I think that is still the case. There are still a lot of people that, honest to God, think that Fred Waterfield did not really play a hand in this.
Well, the proof, though, says otherwise.
It does.
You know, they can think all they want to, or they can go, oh my, because a lot of it's got to be at some point just dismay. How can this happen again? The social standing. How can this be? Not Freddie. No, not Freddie. You know, that whole thing, and that's part of it. And you know, everybody now society as a whole looks down on the uncoordinated, the pudgy, they want to look down on those people anyway. So Gore's the perfect scapegoat for the community.
Absolutely. And I feel kind of bad too, because on the criminal code, I can't use images that I don't have, the copyrights. I can't infringe upon that. So I have to use like Creative Commons. I have to use things that are part of the public record. So the pictures that I have of David Gore and Fred Waterfield are their mugshots that are a bit later in life. And to me, Gore, yes, I think Gore, he did actually always look that way. And he looked that way into his later adulthood too. Fred Waterfield didn't. His mugshot to me is not an accurate representation, specifically of what he looked like in high school.
No,
he was a good-looking guy. He really was.
Yeah, judging by his mugshot with the
judging by his mugshot, you're like they look almost the same. But when he was much younger, no, he was
a catch.
He was a catch for sure, and he knew how to talk to people. He was very social. They were a huge mismatch from the beginning. And so Gore was really made out to be the demon. And Gore didn't do himself any favors, too. I think I should state that up front, because I know I'm going to get emails where people are going to say, you didn't research the case, you don't know it. I actually do. Gore's execution was actually moved up. He was put before like 100 other inmates to be executed.
Why?
Because he decided to pick up a little hobby once he got into prison.
What's
and that was
hobby?
to write pen pals letters and brag about his crimes.
A
lot of
one moron.
A lot of which didn't actually happen, by the way.
He
liked to brag about stuff that he didn't actually do.
He wanted to be like the modern day Jesse James, only the murderous kind.
Absolutely. It's honestly, it's a very common thing. I've met a lot of guys that start up pen pal relationships with people. They write stories they hear from other people. They write stories they see in the news to try to shock them, to see what sort of reaction they're bored. They want to be the big man on campus, and they want to be that way with someone like the serial killer museum. I read letters from people that I have worked with that I know they didn't do some of these things, but the people they're writing to don't know that, right?
Yeah. Well, so that's because people that write to them, though, they want danger from afar is what they want. They want to be around the shark without having to swim with the shark is what it is.
Exactly. And they kind of believe, like, there's a book published, letters from Gore, someone published it, and most of it, he has actually said those exact same things verbatim to multiple pen pals, and just little details were changed. Like it's a rehearsed story. It's nothing more than that. But since he was running his mouth so much and upsetting people so much with those accounts and not having the empathy, they moved him up.
So it cost him his life even sooner is what it did.
Sooner.
His big mouth.
Oh God, I think he could have died of old age in prison if he hadn't run his mouth.
Yeah, just shut up and be a model prisoner. And maybe they'll let you live long enough so cancer or something else can take you.
Exactly, but that is not what he did, and he did apologize for it, obviously, to the victims' families. I don't think that's very sincere. I do think he was pretty psychopathic, but the whole point of my post was that when you look this up, it's always Gore and Waterfield, and when you dig a lot deeper, there's a guy I think we have to take a break at the bottom of the hour, but really quickly, there's a guy named Dr. Mike Amat, and he runs he has a serial killer information center at Radford University. It is the most complete index of serial killers that you will find anywhere. Murderpedia be damned, it's got nothing on this guy. Okay?
Wow, when we come back from break, we'll talk about that then.
All right.
So we'll take a break quick. We'll take a little bit early here so we can dive into that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. It gets weirder. It's got to get weirder. I mean, not that it hasn't already been weird. I mean, it's been really weird.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard.
Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey?
Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
But what do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a torn big red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that torn big red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
So when we were leaving, there's a few things we got to touch on, but number one was there's a guy out there that Murderpedia has nothing on. Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah, no, I know, right? I do like Murderpedia. It's a great site. It's got a lot of information. But there's a man named Dr. Mike Amat from Radford University. He runs the Serial Killer Information Center. And it's Radford University has been compiling a database since 1992. And it is international, not just United States. It contains information, really pertinent information on 4,743 serial killers.
Damn.
And yeah, and it includes things like, that's the thing, is that he first of all, grad students will do anything. So he's got these students that, they're doing it for credit, right? He's got free labor all over the place. And they collect this information from very disparate sources, including things that no one wants to read, like some of the transcripts, court transcripts. Mm-hmm. They glean this information, and they often have interviews with the serial killers themselves, too. And the stuff that they gleaned on Gore was very telling, and it's not stuff that is included.
Really?
Yes, typical media searches. So the great part about the Serial Killer Information Center is that it is open to the public. You can look up anyone.
Oh,
it's
wow.
open. Yeah, so if you go to, so you just type into Google Serial Killer Information Center, or you can Dr. Mike Amat, it's there. And you can get PDFs on pretty much anyone. And it includes, psych reports and all sorts of good stuff. So this is, but I wanted to sort of get to why I looked this up in the first place, right? I was looking at Gore and Waterfield, and given what I know about serial killer pairs and what I've been exposed to, I was already skeptical from the beginning. I was confused. Let's put it that way. I was thinking to myself, why are they kind of pitching Gore as the lead. It doesn't fit. Something doesn't fit. And I couldn't figure out why, because the information on Waterfield was just really not there. Yeah. It wasn't included, and I'm looking for anything on Waterfield and not finding it. But I was refusing to believe that Gore was the dominant and Waterfield was the submissive. Gore doesn't fit the profile, and I can tell you why he doesn't fit the profile. Like, this is what triggered my further research, right? Because every serial killer, just so people know, duo, there's a dominant and a submissive. And when it's a heterosexual serial killer duo, it's often the man, right? Mm-hmm. And he manipulates the dependent woman who's the submissive. And in a platonic duo, there's typically an alpha male and a disciple. Yeah. And in the case of Gore and Waterfield, I was thinking that Gore sounded like the disciple, because after, I was looking at the account, first of all, when Gore was caught, he could not manipulate authorities at all. Didn't even try. Wasn't suave like the typical alpha is. He admitted right away, rolled over right away, started giving information right away. He was talking way too much for an alpha. Gotcha. Alphas might talk, but they're going to talk about their partner as though their partner did everything, and that's not what Gore was doing. He was caught red-handed, but couldn't spin that situation. His psychological workup after he got incarcerated wasn't of a dominant. All of this was just not right. So I had to really dig into this case to find out what is going on.
Would you call Gore maybe borderline special needs? I mean, did he have a diagnosis of not being very bright?
He definitely, and that's what sort of came out, is that it's not that he necessarily had a learning disorder. I don't know if we'll ever know that because of how they collected information back then, but he clearly was not an intellectual powerhouse. He was psychopathic in that he didn't have empathy, had no problem killing. But what I was looking for, basically, when I'm looking for a dominant, I am looking for information that is telling me that he has always had these really sort of sadistic urges and needs. And I want to see that all the way back into his childhood, because that's very typical. In a serial killer duo, the dominant has that always. And the submissive may not. They may have nothing until they meet the dominant.
And it triggers that, yeah.
Yes, exactly. It brings it out in them, especially in heterosexual couples, right? And so I'm looking back into Gore's past, and I'm like, oh my God, the guy didn't lose his virginity until he was 19.
Wow.
What's going on? Very. So I started looking into Waterfield, and I found in Micah Mott's research, God love ya, that there is a very, very good account, a very good timeline of Gore's development, and it reveals a lot about Waterfield that I'm guessing Waterfield doesn't even know. So back in their histories, Gore at one point worked for a service station, right? And he drilled a hole in the bathroom wall, right, so he could watch women in the bathroom.
Okay.
And he got caught for doing this. I don't think he served any time or anything, but he got caught for doing this, got fired from his job, that sort of a thing. But that was it. That's all. That's the only thing in Gore's history. Whereas Waterfield, what was coming out in the local Florida newspapers, is that Fred Waterfield, when in 1973, raped his younger neighbor, Peggy Kaplan. It took her many years to come forward, but when she did, she found out that her sister Jackie had also been molested by Gore.
Damn.
And when they were asking, or by Waterfield, and when they were asking Gore about his sexual history for his psychological profile, Gore recounted his first sexual experience as when Waterfield, then 18 years old, raped Gore's sister in front of him.
Oh, that's sick.
Damn.
I know. I'm sorry. I know it brings that sort of reaction, but that shows you how inexperienced Gore was. Yeah. Gore was 19 at the time. Waterfield was 18, and Gore's first sexual experience was watching Waterfield rape his younger sister Wendy.
And he liked it?
I mean, there's no accounting for the fact that, yes, he's a psychopath and he's sadistic. But all I'm saying is that Waterfield was acting sadistically on his own.
Gotcha.
Without
okay,
Gore.
That's the point. All right.
Yes, is that Waterfield was acting dominantly very early. Gore wasn't.
So he was the guy that got it going. He was the one to expose Gore to that.
Exactly right. And he exposed him to sexual violence to see how he would. And that to me is what a a quote-unquote good psychopath would do, right? Expose them to some violence, see how they react. If they like it, manipulate that, exploit that. As soon as Gore got that auxiliary sheriff's badge, Waterfield jumped on it and said, yes, you have to be the one to abduct the women by yourself.
This is our golden ticket right here.
Yes, they'll trust you, right? Because you have the badge. And, hey, I'll pay you some money. And since Gore didn't have the best paying job, he's like, sure. So Gore would abduct these women on his own. And then Waterfield would participate in the rape, participate in the murder, and then I'll have Gore take care of all the
dirty work.
afterwards.
Yeah.
And everybody says that Gore, because he shot the girl down in the driveway, and that is true, right? That Gore is the murderer. Gore is the violent one. Waterfield was the first one to murder anyone, not Gore. Waterfield inadvertently murdered the elder Mrs. Ling by tying her up too tight. And Waterfield strangled younger Ling.
Waterfield's Dr. Frankenstein and Gore's Igor.
Yes. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Or Igor. Depending upon which show you watch.
So it's just
what home?
Yeah, it goes to show you that what you find on the internet is not always the case. And since Gore was so out of control at the end, he was, out of control at the end with bloodlust and all sorts of other things. He got caught and that is what everybody sees. And then when he's bragging in prison, everybody sees that. But Waterfield was quiet. And he really escaped that public wrath.
Yeah.
By making Gore the villain.
Yeah, they made him the villain. The short, dumb, pudgy guy took the fall for the star athlete.
Yep.
And he had no qualms about it, making Gore become the public enemy. To where, Freddie got railroaded, man. I mean, that's horrible. I know Freddie, great guy. What? Yeah, that kind of reaction, I'm sure, was in the community.
Well, and this is really the heartbreaking thing is if you go and you look online, it was the Florida local papers that carried the story about Peggy Kaplan, who came forward about the rape, and you're exactly right, Joel. It was her mother actually, Lois Kaplan, was a big supporter of Fred Waterfield's, and so when Fred Waterfield got scooped up, her mom Lois was saying, "Oh my God, Freddie couldn't have done this. Freddie was a great guy. Don't you remember him? He lived right across the street." And that's when Peggy said, "Mom, you didn't know him."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's like the rape, one of the first rape victims' own mother didn't believe it at first.
So obviously Fred Waterfield was born that way. He's a psychopath.
Absolutely.
He's a predator.
A sadist. Yes.
An absolute
He's a
predator.
Yep. Born a predator. And and that's the thing about Fred Waterfield. He would have been a predator of women regardless. He was a predator of women regardless. He wasn't necessarily murdering them, but he was raping them with impunity. Young girls when he was 20 years old, he raped a 14-year-old in his community, and he had no compunction about it. He raped at least 3 women in his community that we know about, and we also know that in high school, girlfriends broke up with him because he liked, quote, violent sex, and it scared them.
Well, why the murders, though? I mean, why the murders? I mean, obviously, I suppose witnesses. You can't have witnesses. I get that, but isn't it kind of a leap from rape to murder? I mean, that's kind of a whole nother level, right?
It is, and I would have had to have talked to Gore to find out about this. A Waterfield would have lied. I think Gore might have told me, but Waterfield is the one that crossed over into murder, and I don't think that Gore thought it was going to go that way. I really don't. I think that Gore brought them out there to be raped. That's what he did. Waterfield came, he raped them as well, but he accidentally tied up the elder Mrs. Ling too tightly, and then
that was the first victim.
Without asking, he strangled. I mean, which is and that's the other thing. Strangulation is a very personal way of killing a person. It's very angry. It's very psychopathic because you want to see the life leave their eyes. Gore shot people. It's not like it's better, but Waterfield he strangled someone without telling Gore he was going to do it, without any sort of permission to cross that line. It just happened.
It just happened.
And then he threw $400 at Gore and walked away and said, "Get rid of the body."
Wow.
So there's no question in my mind who the alpha was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Gore. So it's like every time I look this up, it says Gore and Waterfield. And you see all these pictures of Gore and all the murder PDA, and you see nothing on Fred Waterfield. And that to me is a huge miscarriage of justice.
Well, with Waterfield still being alive, I mean, this is an important story. People need to know this. It sounds like it's just not very well known at all. This should be a crusade. This guy is as bad or worse. I mean, we're, kind of equivocating here. His danger to society is probably worse than the one who is executed. Yeah. And yet there's still now in 2018 a extreme, it sounds like, imbalance of how these two killers, and again, we are not in any way excusing what Gore did, but that he is held to be the responsible one, and he is held to be the more dangerous one. And well, we did our duty. We got rid of him, while this other guy sits in jail. So, I mean, we need to tell this tale. I was wondering as you were talking, are you aware of any other cases kind of like this where one person where the relationship between them is very much misperceived by the public?
Not really. I mean, I'd have to dig into it more. I'm sure that there probably are more, but most of the serial killer duos where it's very public, Bernardo and Homolka, Bittaker and Norris, like it's Bernardo and Homolka. Okay, Bernardo was the alpha. Homolka was the submissive. Bittaker and Norris. Bittaker was the dominant. Norris was the submissive. Like, they're always listed that way. I don't know if it's purposeful or not. I think that's just how the media ended up doing it. Like, the Bueno, Bianchi. It's like it's always listed in order of dominance. And I don't know that I have come across one that is so unbelievably imbalanced. Like, even in like the Bernardo and Homolka case, you can find tons of articles about Catherine Homolka. Where are the articles on Fred Waterfield, people? Where are they?
And part of it, though, too, is the community doesn't want to be wrong about somebody. And that's why it's downplayed, too, because they don't want to admit their own, just ignorance to it.
Well, and complacency about it.
Exactly. They don't want to, oh, man, we were so wrong about Freddie. What's up with that? They don't want to admit they're wrong. So that's also why they have to, place the lie and share the blame on Gore. Because then they have to look at themselves.
And I wouldn't have found out some of this stuff without reading the research that Mike Amat had gleaned. There were details in there about Gore's, what he said was his first sexual experience. And just very small details in his, like appeals about Waterfield that really revealed who Waterfield truly was. And that's always how it goes when they're arrested, too. Typically, the submissive is the first one to go, because honestly, I kind of think they're relieved sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, even though they like what they're doing at the same time, they're like, oh my God, like, I gotta talk right away.
Yeah, it's got to become like a runaway train at some point.
Exactly like Gore was. And with Bernardo and Homolka, it was the same way. Like, she started doing this with Bernardo, but Bernardo was insatiable. He wanted to keep raping. He wanted to keep murdering. And she kept thinking that the next one would sort of satisfy him and that they could just be married and be happy. But that's not how he was. And it was getting out of control. So by the time they arrested them, I think she was glad, and she was glad to talk. And that, to me, is how Gore seemed too. He was way out of his depth, trying to keep two victims at the same time. He was absolutely not prepared for that. He ran out in broad daylight just to try to not get caught. Like, the guy had to be stopped, and Waterfield walks away.
Yeah, Waterfield figures, well, I'm just gonna pin it all on Gore, and say, well, no, I had no idea he was doing any of this, and had I known, I would have stopped him, and and he might have gotten away with it. He might have. But then Gore flipped.
He did. He started talking right away. But I mean, just to sort of give a juxtaposition for like how this goes, when Gore was executed in 2012, his Waterfield's children, his two daughters, his adult daughters, showed up to Gore's execution. I don't think they were allowed in the room, but they were outside with the protesters and things like that. And they were there saying that they were very glad that cousin Gore was getting executed because he was the one that dragged their dad's name through the mud, that Waterfield was innocent, and they were glad the real killer was being put to death. Yeah.
Okay, what has law enforcement and what has people in these kind of sciences learned from these two, though? I mean, there has to be a learning lesson here, with that kind of dynamic.
Yeah, and they did learn a lot. I mean, and a lot of it has come from Amat's research of like, tirelessly going over every record they can find, every court record that exists. And we've just always found that same pattern, that if it's a serial killer duo, and it has to, I think people don't understand, it kind of has to be that way. There has to be one that is dominant that kind of calls the shots. Or you'd have two psychopaths that just killed each other, right? Trying to be in control.
Yeah.
Like the dominant looks for someone that they can manipulate, and the person that's being manipulated looks for somebody that will keep the control. You know, they do need each other.
Quick question for the audience. Clarissa, have you ever heard of a case where a serial killer has accidentally killed another serial killer?
No, but I have talked to guys who have admitted that they have gotten in some pretty violent fights with their crime partner. Yeah. Okay. I have heard that, where it gets out of control and somebody like shoots someone else in a non-lethal area. And
that'd be like Godzilla versus King Kong.
Go on. Yeah. Then they go on after that. It happens all the time. And actually that's some victims that have survived have said that breeding that dissension is what kept them alive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That pitting one against the other.
Yes. Is that arguing is what kept them not focused on the victim. So, but I guess I sort of wanted to sum this up by what I said in my article, is that I just want to be crystal clear. I am not saying that Gore didn't deserve what he got.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah. He was a serial killer, a serial rapist, a serial braggart. All I'm saying is that for the sake of recorded history, let's think about renaming the pair Waterfield and Gore, because being a better psychopath doesn't ever mean you should get away with murder.
It's a classic line.
Yeah. From here on in, they will be dubbed Waterfield and Gore.
That's how I feel about it. I would love to talk to him. Waterfield is 66 this year.
Yeah.
I don't think he has medical problems. I would love to talk to him. I mean, at some point, most alphas kind of would like to acknowledge that they were the alpha. And I'm kind of surprised that he's never.
Well, maybe he's hoping to get that parole. Maybe he's hoping to play that sympathy, that sympathy card. And who knows? Maybe if he goes back to his community, he might be hailed as a hero. You know, because of that sympathy.
Undoubtedly. I'm absolutely certain that that's what he's doing. I'm guessing that he's programming in prison perfectly, that he's taking all the self-help courses that he can, that he's saying everything right in preparation for parole. And I mean, I am not beyond writing a letter and saying, hey, he's getting you are getting the short end of the stick. You're not getting all the information. Like you type his name into Google, you're not going to find that much. And that's a shame.
That is a shame. That really is a shame. And it's also a shame that any of this had to happen. These poor victims, their poor families. It just, when you have these kind of predators out there in the loose, it's a scary thing. Now, do you think that there is... Now, this happened in the 70s, right? In early 80s.
80s.
During that,
early 80s, yeah.
During that quote-unquote golden period of serial killers.
Yeah.
And do you see a decline in serial killers overall, or is this holding steady?
Oh, no, they're getting smarter. No, there's no decline, really, not in serial killing. They are getting smarter. Now they're luring in through the internet. They don't have to risk picking up hitchhikers in a car that someone might see anymore. Now they can lure you right to whatever location they want because they have the internet. I mean, they've used things like Backpage, which used to advertise prostitutes. They've used things like Craigslist, when Craigslist used to have the ads where, escorts, they use things like that. But, all of that can be traced. So we're all catching up to each other, right? Serial killers are getting more savvy. Law enforcement's getting more savvy. Like it's all just going in a big cycle. All I can say is just be very careful about who you swipe right on Tinder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to ask because, Tinder...
Tell people where you're going.
It just seems like it would be the perfect tool for a would-be, predator. I mean, almost custom-made.
It is custom made for a predator because you know almost nothing about the person, and you may agree to go out somewhere and think that you're totally safe. The problem is if you have 2 glasses of wine and he says, hey, let's go to this bar across the street, and you're not real familiar with the area, nobody knows you're out with him, you're gone. You really have to think about that, and I hate saying that in this day and age because I want everybody to have equal rights and feel safe, but that's not the world we live in. So particularly if you're a woman... I'm not saying don't date. Go out with that guy you find cute on Tinder. By all means, maybe it'll be the love of your life. You don't know. Just tell someone where you're going.
Meet him at Perkins.
Show them. Show him or her the picture on Tinder. Make sure that you get as much information as you can and that you give that to someone before you go.
Yeah.
This is who I'm out with. This is the picture they gave me on Tinder. This is the phone number they gave me on Tinder. This is where we are going to go. This is approximately when I'm going to get there. Like, it can't hurt to do it. If anything, if they see you as paranoid, drop them.
Yeah, and
who cares?
And if you're upfront and you tell them, like a would-be predator, that you've told people who they are and where you are, doesn't it lessen the odds of being a victim?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It absolutely does, actually. And back in the past when I was dating, I used to do that. I used to go, if I didn't know the person very well, or even if I did know them relatively well, I would get there on the date and I would say, "Oh, hold on, I'm just texting my girlfriend so that she knows I got here safe."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a heads up that someone knows where I am and exactly what I'm doing, and it does lessen the probability.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still out there. I mean, I was just read an article. I can't remember what it was at. I'll have to dig it up for you. Where they kind of said, well, serial killers are all but dead, no pun intended, because of technology is working against them now because of all the instant information sharing that we have now. And I was curious of whether you thought that was the case or not, whether they are still very much active.
Oh God, yes, hugely active. They're as far as the Mott's research, it hasn't really gone down very much. I mean, because he has research from 1992, and yes, and he catalogs years prior to that as well. There was a spike, yes, in the 70s and 80s, but it hasn't gone down enough that I think that technology is really going against it, because there are forensic countermeasures, and people are forgetting that. A lot of serial killers use forensic countermeasures. Like it's what is it? BTK?
Yeah.
He used to go to public restaurants, wait for somebody that was chewing gum to dispose of the gum. And then he would go get the gum from out of the trash or wherever it was, and he would put it near the victim.
What?
Because it has somebody else's saliva all over it.
Oh, to place them at the crime, not him.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Dennis Rader, wow. I watched his sentencing. And what a predator. I mean, his eyes even said shark. I mean, just absolute, like when they were asking him where he disposed of victims, he was acting like, I forgot where I put the hammer in the garage. I do believe I put it there.
Yeah, like he didn't go and visit them. Come on.
Yeah, wow, I do believe I killed him in this manner, and I want to say I dumped him off over there. I'm not sure, though. I do believe I did, though. Like it was no big deal. Like it was big deal.
Yeah, like disposing of a handkerchief or something. Like the biggest thing that works against us as a society, as a pro-social society, is something that's called linkage blindness. And linkage blindness is when there are crimes that cross county lines or state lines or city lines, right? Where you don't have the same department working on it, and people don't recognize that it's a serial killer.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the biggest problem we have in not catching serial killers, especially early in their evolution, is because unless the bodies are right next to each other, most of the time we don't even know we're dealing with a serial killer.
Well, I would imagine a lot of them are transient now, too.
Exactly. And they know. Are you kidding me? They drop a body here and then they go, okay, the county line is here. I'm going to drop the other one over here, because they know those departments don't talk to each other. I mean, they're way ahead of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, because we did a show, of course, with Josh Zeman. Remember that, guys? And,
yes.
And it was truckers in this particular case. That,
very efficient.
We're doing that because, of course, they go long haul trucking and kill someone in Georgia, dispose of them in Nebraska.
Well, and BTK had his car repeated several times so that the hookers on that road didn't recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know what they're doing. So do I think that it's dropped enough because technology is out there? No, I think technology is good, but is it stopping it?
It wouldn't seem that prostitutes or hookers or anything like that, they don't get the same attention as a middle-class mom being murdered.
Oh, God, no. You see a middle-class mom disappear because she went on a long weekend with her girlfriends to Atlantic City and didn't tell anybody, and it's like the world blew up, right?
Yeah.
You have to find this person. She's a good mother. And it drives me crazy because everybody's life, to me, is worth the same. And the other thing, We need to focus on minorities. Oh my God. Why is it when a cute white girl goes missing, the media is blowing up, but when a black girl goes missing or an Asian foreign exchange student goes missing, no one cares?
Well, it's kind of like that case in Aruba, right?
Yes.
Years ago. Oh my God, she was a cute Midwestern
Natalie
girl
Holloway.
lost in Aruba. We gotta get this solved. But had it been, somebody lower middle class, or maybe on the lower end of the social economic scale,
or God forbid, local to Aruba.
And of course,
well, you wouldn't have heard about it if it was local to Aruba.
Nobody would care. And we need to get our blinders off about that, because there are high risk populations, and yes, they're just as valuable, and they're the first to be targeted.
Yeah,
prostitutes, minorities, or people living on the fringes, like under the poverty line.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
if you live under the poverty line, you're one of the first to be targeted, and that needs to be looked at.
It really does. Well, we got to get out of here, and thanks, Dr. Cole, for bringing us yet another great case, and I shouldn't say great case. It's a despicable case, but we all learned something about these cases, about these people, what to look for. It's really an educational thing. But from now on, it's got to be Waterfield and Gore, okay? Not Gore and Waterfield, Waterfield and Gore. Until next time, guys, take care of each other, love each other, and talk to you guys tomorrow night. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.